My name's Troy. I'm a biologist. This is my older brother, Trent, merely a chemist. And we are the Bourbon Brother Whiskey Nerds. Trent, we're launching a new episode, if you will.
A new idea.
A new idea where we dive into the world of craft whiskey.
Troy, what is craft whiskey?
Well, you know, the American Distillers Institute does have a definition.
Okay.
And it is as follows. They define it as a distillery that is independently owned, so they're not owned by another major conglomerate.
Right. Well, because Diageo is lots of crap.
Beam Suntory
right,
or
whatever
anything
it
like
is.
that. And they pull out of bond less than 100,000 proof gallons annually. Now, a little bit of perspective. First of all, what's a proof gallon?
Proof gallon is a weird unit.
Proof gallon
I'm
is a
into
strange
units, 'cause I'm a
unit, I
nerd.
know. We are nerds. But a proof gallon is a gallon of whiskey distilled to 100 proof.
Okay.
So your standard 53-gallon barrel distilled to 125 proof is actually 66.3 proof gallons.
Because the proof gallon is 100 proof.
Correct.
Right.
So to put that in a little bit of perspective, ready for some math?
Oh,
Pause for math.
we're going to math. Now, the bourbon sister, my better half, uses math as a verb. Because she says she doesn't math. And I yell at her all the time because math is not a verb.
Math is not a verb.
But Troy's going to math now. Go
So-
math.
According to the internet, which everything you read on the internet is true,
Clearly.
obviously. Well, and this was a Whiskey Advocate article that I found.
So it's probably
So my source is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Jim Beam distilled in 2019 25 million proof gallons. Now think about that for a minute.
25 million as opposed to 100,000,
Correct.
which is the craft distillery.
Which is the definition of craft distillery. An Olympic-sized swimming pool holds approximately 666,000 gallons of water. That means in 1 year, Jim Beam distills enough to fill 39 Olympic-sized swimming pools.
That's a pool I want to swim in.
I'm telling you what, was that some math for you?
That was math.
There was a lot of math there. We're going to get to whiskey here very, very shortly because our first feature, if you will, on Craft Corner is Chattanooga Whiskey.
Troy, I have discovered on the internet the Chattanooga Whiskey has an interesting little backstory. This is made in a county that was dry.
Yeah.
They had to apply for the license in Tennessee for this to be distilled there because it was dry. And it went all the way up to the county commissioners or whatever it is, and it passed.
It did.
And Chattanooga Whiskey has gotten a little bit of a cult following.
They were an NDP for a while. They've been around for about a decade. They were an NDP for a while. They are now producing and distilling on site. And I should mention, craft distilleries, they have to distill and bottle on site.
So you can't be an NDP.
You
and
cannot
be
be an
a-
NDP. Now, some would argue that could a legacy distillery make a craft product? Sure, of course.
Yes.
They are not, by the ADI definition, a craft distillery. And on this particular episode, feature, whatever you want to call it, we're strictly limiting ourselves to true craft distilleries. Based
Two
on
craft
that
distilleries.
definition.
Well, and Chattanooga certainly qualifies.
They qualify.
And we have some interesting whiskeys here for you today. This is the rye whiskey. Comes in at 99 proof. And this is the bourbon, Troy, 111.
111 proof. So one of the things that I think you'll find with craft distilleries, and I don't know if this is ubiquitously true, but they're probably going to be a little bit younger.
Right.
Both of these are at least 2 years, and that's so they can label it as straight rye
Right.
or straight bourbon.
Straight bourbon
It has to be at least 2 years. That could be a good thing because it's not going to be as oaky. So if you're a little bit
Afraid
oak
of oak.
sensitive,
Right.
you might enjoy this. One of the things I think you have to understand with craft whiskey is you're going to get some crafty flavors. It might be a little young. It might be a little youthful.
Maybe a little funky.
A little bit the craft funk. And I think we have cracked these. We've tried them both. And we both identified that, but it was in check. And they were pretty good.
Pretty well balanced whiskey.
This has won some awards. Now, take that with a grain of salt because awards can be biased too. But Chattanooga has kind of stormed on the scene and done a really good job.
One of the things that I have done some research, folks, and try to look up mash bills here. Chattanooga does not release their mash bills. And Chattanooga, if you're listening.
Shame on you.
And why aren't you? Because we're lovable. But you should release your mash bills. But the one thing that they do a lot, Troy, is that they malt a lot. Yeah. They've done a lot with malting. They're big into the malting process. And they do interesting things with malt. They do caramel malts and chocolate malts.
And honey malts.
All sorts of weird things.
Kind of almost reminiscent of what brewers do
with
their malt.
Beer distributors, which is almost all beer, unless you have a wheated beer, which exists, right? They do caramel malts, which is it's very similar to if you're making steak on the grill and you put like a wood underneath, like a mesquite or something like that. They're malting their grains with some sort of caramel influence.
Or drying them to a longer point. They just dry
like
it
a
longer.
Temperature
Correct.
or something like
so
that.
So it gets more of
that
those
involves
roasty,
caramel
toasty
malts or whatever. So it's an interesting process. We are big fans of craft distillers. If you are sort of in the middle of your road of your whiskey journey, I don't know that I would recommend craft distillers if you're new, because I think when you're new, you need to buy relatively cheap legacy distilled products just to get a sense of what you like. But once you're beyond that, reach out into some craft markets, and Chattanooga would be a great place to start. So, Troy, we have a 99 proof rye here. I'm going to go ahead and pour this.
I'm going to pour the cast strength, and we'll talk about these a little bit. So.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited for the 99 proof
these weren't
rye.
extraordinarily expensive. The other thing that I think with craft distilleries that you need to somewhat be prepared for is you're going to pay a little bit more. And that's okay. You know why you're paying more? Because it's more expensive for them to produce.
Well,
without
you need to understand, craft distilleries probably pay the people who work there as much as the legacy distillers. They're just producing less. So to make ends meet, they need to charge more for it. And that's not bad. Like, it's okay. It's actually good.
It's an economy of scale.
It's not the, well, it, without, that is the word for it.
It is an economy of scale.
If you're a business-educated person, that's what it's called. It's an economy of scale. All right, folks.
Very much.
I'm gonna go off camera a second, get an extra Glencairn so that I can have some of this. I'll be back.
I'll talk about the bourbon here. The craft notes are strong. There's no doubt about that. Definitely coming through. There's funk and there's crafty notes, perhaps a little bit youthful, but not in a bad way. Is that rye over there next to you guys?
Yeah,
I'll steal a rye.
Oh, I think this reads as high rye almost. And again, Chattanooga does not come through, and they should. Shame on you, Chattanooga. Shame on you, Buffalo Trace, who also does not. Speaking of Buffalo Trace, I get a little Buffalo Trace vibe on this.
Might lean a little on the sweeter side.
Strawberries and cream.
Ooh. I can see the bright red fruit note that you're putting down. Now, as I get deeper in, some of those craft notes are diminishing, and I'm not quite picking up on them.
Yeah, I'm not getting as many craft notes. Troy's on form here.
On the first nose, I did get that craft funk.
There's something underneath that I can't place. Maybe that's the craft note you're picking up. Almost like a dusty, right? Like not a barrel funk, because that would read as sour, and it's not a sour note.
You know what? Trent's right about it. Reads a little higher rye, in that I don't know if that's the malting process that they're doing coming through.
Well, and again, we don't know how much rye is in this.
We don't know.
They don't know.
Yeah,
maybe they malt their rye, and if they do
could
that,
very well be.
that malting rye is not easy to do. I view this as almost a little spicy. Now, I got to tell you, I sort of dig it.
I kind of like it.
I sort of dig it.
I forget. I think I paid about $40 for the bourbon and maybe a little bit less, maybe like 36.
30, 35.
35, something like that.
Well, and again, that's pretty good for 101 proof or 111 proof stuff. Yeah. This reads to me,
Almost a honey note.
oh, that's a good note. The sweetness under here isn't vanilla. It is malty. I get the malt.
If you're a Scotch drinker,
Oh, this is a good choice.
this might be a way to get yourself into bourbon, because those malt notes.
That's a heck of a good point. Because
Are
you can
really coming
smell
through.
the malt. That's a sugar called maltose, as we've talked about on the channel before. I could draw you a structure for it, although maybe wrongly. I might come close. All right, folks, I'm going in. This is a very inviting nose. Well, the malty notes come through on the palate, too. But so do those useful notes. I get more of them on the palate than I did on the nose. A little bit of barrel funk, maybe a little bit of barrel char. There's a smoky note here.
The smoky note I can definitely see. I do. There's a punch of sweetness here. I'm still sticking with that honey
Honey is a good note.
sweetness.
It does not read thin.
No.
I don't think it's the most oily, viscous thing I've ever had, but it doesn't read thin. You know what? I could sit and sip this. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, one of the reasons I think Trent and I are struggling is these are a departure from some of your traditional notes that we usually get, and that's not a bad thing. It's just they are different. They are unique.
On the nose, now that I'm done with my first sip. Now, if I have a gripe, it sort of falls flat on the finish.
Little
There's
bit.
Not much of a finish.
A little bit.
Now there's something there, but it's not long and lasting, right? But the proof is well hidden. You could tell me this was 90, 100 proof. I'd believe you. And it's 111.
It does have a really nice, inviting nose.
I'm getting a little bit more barrel funk on my second.
Your smoke note is on point.
Yeah, there's barrel
And those
char.
malty notes are
Almost
there.
dominant, almost. Right?
Yeah.
What there isn't, I'm not getting a lot of fruit. Other than my initial nose of strawberries and cream, I got like a plantain note. But I'm not sure it's there anymore. My mouthfeel was better on the second sip there. I don't know that I can say, I love this, I love this, I love this. But you know what? I'm not mad about it. I don't hate it. It's an interesting pour of whiskey. And part of that might not be craft. It might be Chattanooga's interesting process.
Correct. It
We
could very well
don't know oh, there's a better finish on my second
be. The
sip.
finish is coming through a little bit better on the second sip than on
I'm
the first
actually
sip.
sort of pleased by the finish on my second sip. I like it a lot.
I think for me, this for me is going to be a mood pour. I want something a little different.
I think that that's probably fair for all craft distillers, right?
I think I want something a bit unique, a little bit of a departure from brown sugar, vanilla caramel that we
Right.
say all the time.
Right.
Because that's not what I'm getting off of this.
No, I don't think it reads sweet even. If anything, I think
It reads spicier
I think
and
it reads,
maltier.
it's a spicy, malty pour. And maybe that's Chattanooga's calling card. So, all right, we're going to go in on this 99
We got the
proof
rye here. Now, I should get a sip of water here.
Oh, well, the rye spice is there. I like it on the nose.
Chocolate.
Definitely more rye. Chocolate is a hell of a note.
Chocolate.
Coffee.
Coffee
and toffee.
Coffee and toffee. That's chocolate, coffee, and toffee.
We're done. Sign off. Show over. We have hit excellence. All right, we're moving on. This show's not over. Keep watching. Boy. Woo! This is nice, Troy.
Yeah, you know what?
I might like this more than the bourbon.
I get some floral notes.
I
off
like the
rye.
bourbon, too.
I get some of those
It reads really nice. The rye spice is there. A lot of mint.
There is a mint note. Is it licorice?
Ooh, a little anise. Not anise. That's a different note. You don't want that on your whiskey.
No.
Anise, not anus.
Yes.
We should put that on a t-shirt. Anise, not anus. There's a joke in there that I'll leave in there so that we continue to be employed.
Trent's mint note is spot on. I'm still sticking by my chocolate coffee toffee.
Chocolate coffee toffee is good stuff. And
Which is 3 notes for the price of 1.
And licorice is also a good note. There's a little bit of an anise note in here. You know those anise cookies they have at Italian weddings?
Oh, yeah.
And if you haven't been to an Italian wedding,
should
they
go.
need to go. Because those people are fun. But
Those Italian Catholics know how
God
to
love them.
bring
North, south, westies. Yes. God love them. All right. Ooh, it's different on the palate than it is on the nose. It reads sweeter.
Yeah, like a vanilla sweetness.
It's really nice. Almost bourbon-esque. It doesn't taste like a rye.
Boy, that's really interesting.
I'm not getting any youth, and it's not thin.
No, it doesn't read young.
It's not
Got
the
those
most.
raw, grassy notes.
No, I'm not getting them. I've had far worse ryes than this. Chattanooga, putting it down, baby. I liked these more than I liked them the first time we had them. They've opened up splendidly. Now, there might be a grassy note on the nose. I'm getting like a grassy, earthy note on the nose.
The earthy I can see. I got to tell you, Trent, I think the rye drink's better than the bourbon.
I might like the 99 proof rye more than the 111 proof bourbon.
If you are not a huge rye fan, Trent and I are rye fans. There's no two ways about it.
Oh, yeah. We're pretty fly for rye guys. Now
the
I would be surprised to hear that this is 100 proof rye. Or 100 zero.
Oh,
rye.
I would
I don't
almost
think it
assuredly
is.
say it's not. There's
It's
some
not.
malt in there.
There's some malt. Now, maybe they malt their rye. Their calling card, the only thing they give you on their website, and maybe I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, let me know. Comment, send us an email, bbwn37@gmail.com. That's bbwn37@gmail.com. If I'm wrong, let me know. But the only thing the website gives us is that all of their whiskey is 25% malted,
Yeah.
which is a lot.
Could be malted rye and malted barley.
Could be malted
wheat if they
we
wanted
don't know.
to.
Now, malted wheat is even worse than malted rye. But
Yeah, rye gets sticky. It's very hard
it's
to
hard
work
to
with
malt.
when you malt
The
it.
biochemical process of malting. We've talked about this on the
We
show
have,
before.
yep.
But we might as well again, because we're the Bourbon Brother Whiskey.
Absolutely.
And we want to be nerdy. And you're a biologist, I'm a chemist. This is the biochemical process.
It's the perfect marriage.
It is.
Aw.
But look at the word biochemistry. It's 80% chemistry. In any case, we're moving on. The biochemical process of malting involves tricking the grain into thinking it's been planted. And that's harder to do with rye and wheat than it is with barley, which is why beer distributors, and Scotch, Irish whiskey, almost always 100% malted.
Yeah, you basically trick it into germing, which activates the enzymes and makes it easier to break down those sugars into
Alcohol
for the yeast.
to turn it into
The endosperm of that seed. I used endosperm on the channel.
sperm is a dirty term. I like it.
did.
I'm going to drink this whiskey because there's nothing left to do. There's nothing I can say after he said endosperm that made the world better. So, only worse
know what?
jokes.
I think Chattanooga is doing some good stuff. You know,
Craft Corner for the first episode has been a tremendous success.
it
'Cause this
certainly has
shiznit is-
been. It's
is
good.
good.
I feel like I like the rye just a touch better than
Now,
the bourbon.
this is not a surprise coming from us because
well,
we're
that's
big into rye.
because we do love us some rye. There's no two ways about it.
We do.
Good stuff. if you've had Chattanooga, let us know. If you want to know more about craft whiskey, let us know what you think about Craft Corner. This is our first parlay into this. You tell us. Do you
There
want
will be more Craft Corner.
us
if
to
you want it.
continue, or are you like, no, just stick to what you've been
Stick
doing?
to legacy stuff.
Stop doing that.
Whatever
But
you want, folks.
definitely worth exploring if you haven't had this.
Now, these are new purchases for us. We're just dabbling into Chattanooga. I really like this rye.
I really like the rye.
There's a nice finish on this whiskey, too.
Good stuff.
A very rye forward, peppery.
Absolutely
Good stuff, big fan. All righty, folks. Troy, take us home.
You know what? That's all we have for you. Stay tuned for more episodes of Craft Corner. And while you're at it, drink what you like.
And like what you drink. We'll see you next time.
Bye,
folks.
everybody.